Guelph shifted in March, and if you've been sitting on the fence, curious about buying or selling, or what do you even do at this point, and you feel a little stuck, these numbers are here to give you some context because how March moved is going to give you your April strategy. Here's what headlines are giving us. We are in a buyer's market, formally. I want to be careful with that label because, especially if you're a client of mine, you know that we've been actively involved in multiple offers in Guelph for the month of March. And as I say in almost every video, you have to get segment specific if you are shopping in neighborhoods because they're not all one size. You cannot paint the entire landscape with the same brush. And hopefully today's video will give you some context into what March numbers mean for your specific goals, real estate goals in the city of Guelph. By the way, this video is in collaboration with other top real estate professionals right across North America who are also providing such value within YouTube. If you'd like to look at their specific cities, please reference the description in this video below. This market update is only going to focus on the city of Guelph. I do hope to get to have other market updates that cover the GTA as well as Waterloo region because I've had a couple of you reach out from Waterloo as well. I want to be clear, when you hear buyer's market territory or just buyer's market, please do not assume that the prices have just like nosedived down. It has not fallen off of a cliff. That's not what's happening. In fact, the median price in Guelph is just over $737,000, and that's down less than a quarter from the March prior. So from March 2025. That's it. So if we're looking at how March performed, it's not really the story of the price. It's more the power, the leverage that you as a buyer now have. And dare I say you've had leverage for a few months now. And I know we use that word leverage quite often in real estate, but really it is a little bit of a game of trade-offs, right? That's the whole process of negotiations, even in real estate. It's, hey, if I'm writing an offer, it's not always the best and the highest price that wins. Sometimes it's terms, sometimes it's conditions, sometimes it's incentives. There are so many components of writing an offer and acquiring real estate, and that's where you get leverage because when you're tracking certain data points, whether it's days on market, sales to listings ratio, sales to price ratio, and you know what these numbers mean, and then you use it to your specific segment, that's where you're creating leverage and you're using it to your benefit. If all of that wasn't clear, I'm so sorry. It's really clear in my mind. Hey, in case we haven't met, my name is Varsha and I assist families in buying and selling and acquiring real estate in Guelph and the Greater Toronto area. Would you do me a favor and like and subscribe to this video if it actually lands for you? Moving on, let's start with what actually happened in the month of March here in the city of Guelph. The median sale price, as I said, is sitting just over $737,000, and that's down less than a quarter year over year. The average sale price is sitting at $775,000 or just slightly above. And that number is actually up slightly. So if someone tells you that Guelph prices are crashing, that is not actually true because the data supports a different number. Prices are holding. What is moving is transaction volume. Guelph saw 110 homes sell in the month of March, and that's down 20% from the year prior where it was 130 homes selling for the month of March. So fewer people are transacting, and yeah, there are other parameters at play there, including March break, and some schools have 2 weeks off. And we had a rate announcement, and there were certain economic disruptions that happened on a global scale as well. All of these factors play a part when it comes to real estate transactions. And I want to be clear, new listings actually went up at the same time in the month of March. They went up just over 7%, almost closer to 8% actually. More homes are hitting the market, fewer are selling, and that combination of more supply, less demand. I want to be careful how I say less demand. It could be just less demand for that particular type of product, but more homes hitting the market and less demand, that's what creates that buyer's market territory. The average days to sell for the month of March in Guelph is sitting at around 41 days. And a year ago, that was sitting at 30. For buyers, it's clear this extra time is yours to use to your advantage, whether it's completing your due diligence, fulfilling the conditions of your agreement, going back for visits, and crafting a well thought out, well put together contract. And of course, price is part of that. I want to take a moment to actually explain sales to new listings ratio because it's a clear signal. When you're looking for signals as a buyer or seller, this sales to new listings ratio is a clear signal for buyers as to where the market sits today. Probably a good signal for sellers too. So this ratio, the sales to listings ratio, tells you what percentage of available homes actually sold in that month. So if we go back in March 2024, we had 6 out of 10 homes sell. In March 2025, it actually dropped by 47%. Okay, so March 2024, 6 out of 10 homes selling, market's moving. March 2025, it drops by 47%, so it's cooling. And today, March 2026, it's 35%. So fewer than 4 out of 10 homes are selling. And like I said earlier, when we cross over that 39% threshold, that's when we fall into buyer's market territory. And technically, Guelph is there. And quite obviously, this means that buyers are not competing over homes. In fact, sellers are competing for buyers' attention. So if you're a buyer, this environment today is something that you've probably wanted for a long time in the city of Guelph, where the environment actually supports your conditions, it supports you taking your time, and it supports you gathering data and making a really informed decision. This environment today gives you that. Now let's move on to what buyers are actually paying versus what the asking price is, and you find that in the sales to list price ratio. So the sales to list price ratio in the city of Guelph for March 2026 is sitting just over 97%. So buyers are paying about 97 cents on the dollar of asking price. Compare that to 2024 or 2025 when we were sitting closer to 100%, which means buyers were paying pretty much asking. So if you were to see this ratio, there's technically a 3% discount on homes right now. And if we take the average sale price of a home, let's round it to $750,000, you're technically looking at over $20,000 in savings or a discount when you're looking at the sales to list price ratio. And that's actually part of leverage. When we talk about leverage, that's part of leverage. This does not mean that you walk in and you lowball and you just give them a number that makes absolutely no sense for the house and the product type and the neighborhood. You do have to do your research. You do have to do your due diligence and come up with a number that makes sense. And when I say segments, I do mean also property types, right? Like certain segments of the market are seeing a full buyer's market, and they have been for a few months now. Other pockets of the market, I dare say, are in full seller's market category because my clients have competed in multiple offers in those segments because there aren't enough product. There isn't enough supply for those segments in those neighborhoods. Where is the sweet spot in Guelph in terms of an abundance of supply where you can actually have some leverage as a buyer? It's sitting in that $600,000 to $750,000 range. That segment nearly doubled since last year. The $350,000 to $550,000 range is also moving. You know, that entry point market in Guelph is quite active. And yes, you're going to see quite a few condos that fall into those price points. And this is where you get to do such a good deep dive in the condo market if you're looking to purchase a condo or simply come into home ownership, because believe it or not everybody wants a freehold. Okay, a lot of people actually enjoy the conveniences of having certain things taken care of for them in terms of home maintenance, in terms of outdoor and exterior maintenance, and you pay a price for that. But this is where you get to do a solid due diligence. Find out exactly what the reserve fund looks like for the condo. Get a full status certificate. Have your lawyer review it. See if there's any special assessments coming up, right? I know these are very jargon words, so if you want to talk about condo specifically, let me know. I'll create something for that. But this is all leverage for you as a buyer. I hope that's landing. Now, this is where it gets interesting for buyers when it's in that $750,000 range to just under $1 million. The sales in that range are actually down 9%. And that also means that the inventory in that range is sitting a little bit longer. So buyers have choice. Buyers have time. Buyers have leverage. So sellers, if you're in that pocket, in that 750 to 999 range, you're going to have competition as a seller. So you need to really present your property in the best way possible. Your price has to make sense. And I'll be honest, in a market like today, your price is going to be your biggest marketing tool. Presentation, of course, counts, but you're going to need your price to attract the right buyer to even click online because you have a digital presence. You're going to need them to actually see it. And for that to happen, it needs to filter through into the right price point, into the right buyer inbox. There's so many things at play here, but because that price segment is quite competitive for sellers because there is more inventory, you're going to need to stand out. You're going to need to present and price effectively. And buyers have more choice in the market. They do, and they have more choice than they've had in many years. And what that choice has also created, it's a little bit of curse of knowledge, because now they think, because they have information at the palm of their hands with all sorts of apps, that you can look at a history of the home and you automatically think you know everything about that home. There's a different story also at play. I'm sure your professional that you're working with can tell you that. But because there's so much choice, it's taking longer to make decisions. And sometimes you get stuck in that loop. So if you're a buyer, check yourself there. Okay. All of this to say, the freehold and condo markets in Guelph are telling two completely different stories, and I think you've caught that just by now. Condo sales specifically have dropped 37%. That's significant. March 2026 saw 36 condo sales for the city of Guelph versus 57 the year prior. And the average condo is selling for $547,000 or just thereabouts. And that's down 7% from the year prior. For condo buyers, this is one of the best entry points you've seen in the city of Guelph in years. When prices are down, days on market are longer, sellers are likely being a little more flexible, and the data is on your side. For condo sellers, I want to be direct with you. Yes, condo sales are still happening. Hey, we had 36 sell for the month of March. However, this is a harder market for you. Okay, it has been for a little while, and your patience is not ignored. There's more inventory, there's fewer buyers in your segment, and prices are adjusting. Pricing your condo accurately from day one, so not listing at your aspirational dream price, but listing for what the market can absorb today, is pivotal to you having any kind of traction with your condo. Overpriced condos in Guelph are expiring, and you do not want to get stuck in the overpriced expire relist loop. Speaking of expired listings actually went up 38% for the month of March in the city of Guelph. An expired listing, simply put, is a seller put their home up on the market for sale. The listing period ran out and it did not sell. When that number goes up in the market, and remember we had 110 homes sell for the month of March, but when that expired number goes up in the market, that can only mean one thing: pricing. Year to date for 2026, 98 listings have expired, and that's up 11% from 2025. That trend is going in the wrong direction and signals that sellers are holding on to that price. Again, the price that the market just can't absorb today. So if you're a seller, I do want you to understand, okay, there are buyers, there are qualified buyers waiting to pounce and acquire a home in this market. This is not the market that you test a high price in. If moving on, offloading this property to get on with your life in whatever capacity is important to you, then pricing effectively from day one is crucial. And even when homes sell, buyers still have leverage. Conditions are very much a part of it. So don't be a home that's testing the market and expire in the process. So use these 98 homes that have expired year to date for the city of Guelph as a signal, as a learning point of what not to do. At the height of the pandemic, I know, gosh, I went there, but in 2021, 2,800 homes sold in the city of Guelph for that given year. Since then, transaction volume has actually been running at about 60% year over year since that point. Prices have held much better than volume of sales. And what that tells you, if you're a seller, is that sellers who needed to sell probably accepted lower prices, and those who didn't have just held off from even listing. If you're a seller, the market is still transacting. Price is going to be your most effective marketing tool in today's market. So if you really think about it, both buyers and sellers have some leverage. You just have to know how to use it. If you are one of those people who has asked me about Waterloo region as a whole, stay tuned, because Waterloo region market update coming up right after this.